Hello, everyone. So happy to be here. My name is Elan. I'm the social media manager here from Reflectiz. And today you're joining us from multiple channels. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. And this is our monthly webinar session. We see ourselves as the website security conversation leader. We are always bringing new, interesting topics to talk about when it comes to web security. We see ourselves as a leading provider of this interesting and challenging arena. So, after this huge earthquake that Claude Code Security brought, I think, less than 1 month ago, it came with a huge boom. Around $200 billion in cybersecurity stocks went down due to this one specific tool feature that came out. And today we brought two of our professional team members. I would like to introduce you to On and Elan. Hey guys, thank you for coming in today.
Hey, Ron.
Hello, everybody. Thank you,
Hi,
Oran,
everybody.
for your
Yes,
introduction.
yes.
Yes, my name is Onir. I'm doing the content here at Reflectiz, and I want
Amazing.
to introduce Elan, our VP R&D.
Hi there.
Hey,
Hello.
Ilan, hey on. So, guys, thank you all for coming in today. We're gonna have this really interesting deep dive into the tech part and the idea of where is this all going forward. Just one thing to mention: if someone has a question, feel free to write it down in the chat. We'll have some time later to answer everything. And if website security is a challenge you're facing in your day-to-day life, raise a hand and reach out, maybe leave your details in a form on our website. But we are here and we want to help you because we see in time how much this is a huge blind spot that security leaders kind of ignored, but now it's such a big thing and we are here to help you with that. So without further ado, guys, please take it and have a great
O-
session.
Okay, thank you, Oran. So a little bit about Reflectiz. We're a web security company, but with a very specific focus, web exposure. What does that mean, web exposure? Well, every website has an intended attack surface. The code you wrote, the services you chose, but there's another layer most teams don't see, the actual attack surface. Not only the first parties, but every third party script, pixel, tag, open source tool that executes in your customer's browser in real time. Web exposure is actually the gap between the two. And that gap is where modern attacks live: web skimming, form jacking, supply chain attacks. And we give security teams a continuous visibility into that gap: what's running, what's changed, what's behaving suspiciously, so they can catch threats before they become breaches. This is us. This is Reflectiz. And about a month ago, Claude Code Security really shook the world with its new security tool. It's very impressive. It's AI powered, it's fast, it's genuinely useful for catching vulnerabilities before you ship. But here's the thing: it secures what you write. Attackers target what runs on your website. Your repository can be spotless, your pipeline clean, and your checkout page still can be compromised. Uh, and that's not a knock on Claude Code Security, it's just reality. Static and dynamic security solve different problems, and you probably need both. Um, so in this session, we'll explore the differences between static code analysis, AI-assisted security like Claude Code Security, and runtime web exposure protection. So let me share with you the presentation we made, and we'll go right to the first question. So Claude Security or Reflectiz Dynamic Scan? What will you choose? So Elan, my first question for you today is what's the difference between static analysis and dynamic analysis, between first-party scripts and third-party scripts?
Yeah, hi everybody. So I think on kind of gave a spoiler when we're trying to understand whether you should choose the Claude Code or maybe you should go for the Reflectiz. So the truth is that as a lot of different areas in security, it's built on layers. It's not necessary that you want one or the other. We're going to show you why you need both aspects when you look on your e-commerce site. When we're looking today in AI, we're doing great things with AI. It's opened a new opportunities for us. It allows us to go not just quicker on finding a solution for a customer, but go very deep. The scan that AI can help us provide, the size of the data that we can kind of ingest, a lot of different things that kind of makes the use of AI very, very interesting in the opportunity to provide you better security. While we're doing that, I think that we as professionals, we need to also kind of take into account the fact that we need to make sure that all of that goodies comes with the right reliability, the consistent, the fact that we can maintain that, the fact that it's compliance solution that we can actually trust. But things are moving very quickly and surprisingly, those becoming more and more efficient on the day-to-day work for us when we are developing security software. In terms of the static analysis, I'll try to kind of go a little bit and to explain the difference between those static and the dynamic web exposure. So in the static world, the Claude Security is going after scanning your code, scanning the dependencies, looking for secret scanning, the infrastructure as code that you develop, the configuration that you're doing, the containers that you are doing. All of that is the pre-deployment aspect. The ability, basically, there is a lot of tools out there on the fields that doing that, and Claude is doing that surprisingly very, very, very good to our testing that we've made with the focus that I've mentioned. After scanning the code and identifying your code. The next thing would be for the static analysis is to kind of identify the security coding flow. In case of when we're talking about injection, it could be a missing sanitation, misconfiguration can lead to the injection. And the next thing to try and understand with all of that code that you provide and you're going to deploy for production, to check like whether that specific version that you're using for the dependency has the vulnerability, and if so, what's the severity of that, and whether or not it's reachable for exploit within your site. All of that is happening. All that very important phase is happening pre-deployment, where Reflectiz comes in and kind of bring the next layer is with the dynamic script code, which is not there before the client actually runs a web page. If you're looking right now on the web page, you'll find certain images, you'll find certain scripts, but if you carefully look when you run the actual your page on a web browser on production, you'll find many different other assets that been added dynamically to your page. Your page is loading CDN's asset images that coming from remote servers. It's calling API, calling function, sometimes even using a WebSocket to get information. A lot of different ways for the browser to get the assets that are needed in order to kind of perform the task that it's been loaded for. Reflectiz, the way that we're doing that, we continuously monitor those first party, but also the third party and fourth party script and checkouts in order to provide you with a broader view of not just what is statically being loaded initially, but what is actually that is running on your browser. And sometimes, surprisingly, you'll find that some of that running code is malicious code that intend to hijack maybe your sensitive data, your customer sensitive data. And that's where we're trying to help, to identify those risks and help you identify the priority in order to fix those.
Okay. A question, Elan. We tried to test Claude Code Security, and recently we found a Magecart malicious code in one of our in one of the websites we scan, and we tried to see how Claude Code Security will help you find Magecart. Can you discuss a little bit about that? Like how Magecart attack happens, how Claude Security can help, where his visibility ends, and how Reflectiz can help.
Yeah. So if somebody tried to inject a script or malicious script to you even before production, even before you did the deployment, then there is a chance that Claude Security is going to help you find that. If you used the wrong elements building your web page, it might indicate for you that you have some risk there for injection of script. But once it's being loaded, there's where Reflectiz comes in. And on the dynamic side, what we're seeing is that there is a very clear pattern on the injection exploit. The first thing that is always happening, that somebody is trying to inject the malicious code dynamically. Usually it's going to be hidden. It's not going to expose. The skimmers are doing a lot of effort in order to hide that from you. So once the site is loading with the injected script, they will try to make your scanning code miss that, or even if you're looking at yourself on the dev tool, they will try to kind of make that invisible for you in different ways. We're going to touch that, I think, later on. Once they injected the malicious code, they activate that. And activate that means that they are trying to go and fetch the sensitive data. In this case, if we were talking about hijack data, they're going to fetch the sensitive data. Sometimes they run a vacuum. They try to take all of the data and try to understand what's good for them. Sometimes they're more sophisticated to take exactly that, either login data that you added or your credit card details, and try to wrap that. From this point, there is the exfiltration that is going to happen. They would like to send that data to the skimmer server. That's the whole thing. They're trying to hijack that data. So the first item always going to be to send that hijack data to the skimmer server. That's the pattern that we always see. Now, the different parts of that, the different phases of that might vary. And our skimmer are very sophisticated about the ability to make that very, very hard for us to find that. But eventually, one thing is very important to understand. When your web page is loading, usually, it starts from a navigation, you do a request, you get back the HTML. The browser is parsing your HTML top bottom, means that it's going all through your instruction and all your added script. It's adding the first party resource, and then it's going to add the third party. The third part, it could be CSS files, it could be JavaScript, it could be images, font, iframes. It could be like CDN vendor scripts that are needed for the operation of the site. It could be the tag manager. Sometimes those are the right functionality. This is what you expect, but sometimes those being compromised either by supply chain or other ways that our schemer is putting in their code in order to be able to kind of ride and hook those legitimate performance script that we're adding in to kind of do the hijack of the data that they are looking for. So the malicious script is going to be added onto that. The next step, the DOM is being constructed, and after that, we're getting the DOM content loaded. So the schemer knows where to operate that script. And from this point, whenever the action or the event is happening, whether it's going to be a submit or click, that's going to trigger the submission of that data, sensitive data, to the schemer. And that's usually how it works.
Okay, so not quite yet. Claude Code Security cannot detect Magecart. Maybe in the future. Now you need a third-party visibility in order to detect Magecart. So my next question is, what should security teams do with Claude Code Security? Like what CISOs should do next regarding this new tool?
So I think that first of all, I want to mention something very important, which is the regulation and the PCI DSS regulation that we're kind of facing starting March 31, 2025. It's not just a recommendation, it's a requirement to secure payment pages against the client-side attack. And I think that part of what we're going to recommend is to pay attention here and use tools like we're providing today on that dynamic monitoring in order to help you make sure that you're monitoring and you mitigate those risks. In terms of the CISO or the other stakeholders that we're working, our customers, our users, so they kind of recognize that they must have that dynamic browser monitoring. Mature defense stack is going to have not just Reflectiz, but as I said, many different layers on top of that, like the static security, which is Claude. We think it's very important phase to do that. There is a supply chain control that is part of that, vendor validation, the allow scripts, and those kinds of things. Then you're going to need to have the dynamic web exposure, which is Reflectiz is going to help you with the continuous detect, and also it's going to help you not just we're taking that to the next level, where we're trying also to try and understand which events are going to trigger that attack. So our user journey, our ability to kind of understand different events, different paths within your web browser is going to help us reveal even more of that malicious script that may be being injected. And the last thing is the enforcement, the remediation. It's very important to take what we're presenting you and take it to the next level to make sure it's the priority. You're taking care of those risks, the alarm that we're putting out. We're providing a lot of tools, including chat with your data that can help you really focus where's the problem and how to kind of take that to the next level, which is the remediation. And the remediation is part of the whole thing, the ability to very quickly identify and remediate that gap.
Okay. Great. It was it was an eye-opener session. Do you think there's other type of attacks that Claude Code Security can help security teams? Like, can it find CVEs or stuff like that in your code base?
That's part of the static analysis, the ability to scan your code, to understand the execution path that you have, to understand like which dependencies, which open source you are using, which third party you are using, to try and go figure out of the public databases what are the vulnerable libraries that you are using, and basically give you the ability to list and prioritize your risk in terms of the vulnerability, what needs to be set, help you to pin a version, so you'll use a safe version. Sometimes it's the vulnerability is in a specific version. So all of that can come from static analysis, definitely.
Okay, great. If you want to learn more about Claude Code Security, we recently published a CISO guide to Claude Code Security. It's on our website, the Reflectiz website. Feel free to go to the website and download it. It's really valuable for security teams.
Guys, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for coming in and sharing from your experience. We really had hundreds of people watching this live session, so you really shared from your experience and gave them a clear view on how do we see this gigantic earthquake coming into the reality of things in the day-to-day lives. Everyone who has a question, feel free to write it down in the chat. But as I was listening to you guys, I would love to hear from you. How do you see the future from now? Do you see that we're gonna base all our security on cheap AI tools, or are we gonna still use the old ways? So how do you see that going forward?
Yes, Elan.
I don't know about cheap tools, Oran. I think that eventually the way to go is to kind of watch to understand how deep and how consistent, how much I can trust a specific solution. It's not just about how much it costs. It's about what's the impact and the exposure that I might get of using the wrong tool. So I think that as we make progress, I think that all of that industry is going to go one step up. Either it's going for us, for all of us, to develop a more deep technology that can really provide much better secure platform for our customers, to provide better visibility, to reduce the false tolerance. A lot of systems are going to work on that, which is very important for our customer to be able to pinpoint what exactly they need to change. I think that it's going to be amazing. I urge you to go listen to our product manager talking about the next generation with the agentic AI future. We are working very hard now to make that happen. So very interesting things are going to come in the future for that from us.
100%. I totally agree. You mentioned our last session with Simon, our VP product, about the future of AI attacks on retail. That was a very successful session. Everyone can, if they want, can go to the website, download it, and see it again. And that's pretty much
one
it.
last question for Elan. So this chat with your data feature that's coming up at Reflectiz, can you tell us how it can help security teams? This new groundbreaking feature.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. It's kind of helping all of us kind of form the future, because we're very much used to solution applications that kind of provide you a navigation way to explore your data and alerts. And when we introduce right now the chat with your data, the AI assistant, we're actually providing our end user the ability not to browse to understand like the different aspect of an exposure, but from the same place to ask the question, to understand to get a broader understanding of the exposure, to understand what are the way to mitigate and remediate that. To understand the connection and the relationship between the different data elements that we provide, if it's the domain against the cookies and the third-party script that we're providing there. In some cases, the privacy for customers that are using our privacy feature. So it's kind of giving you from one point to understand the full picture and take that to the next level, which is the remediation.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Guys, so again, thank you very much for your time. If anyone has any further questions, reach out to us. We're on every social media platform. We have our website. You can write us a message or just subscribe to our newsletter or subscribe to our channels or just leave your details in the form. We are here to help explore and bring those interesting conversations to the community. So watch out for our next session next month. Thank you all for coming on. Thank you very much, Elan. Thank you. It
You.
was
Bye.
very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.